Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today on Salukis NPR. We are PRSSA's chapter here at SIU, and today we're going to be discussing our trip recently to ICON, which is the International Conference for PRSSA. So today I have President Kendra Gregory and Vice President Liz Davis.
Woo.
Thank you so much for joining us. Very happy to have you both here. So we're going to...
Glad to be here.
I'm happy to be here, Mary.
Well, we have some questions lined up. So I'm your host, Mary D. Hayes, and I also attended ICON. So we're just going to have some little chit chat, talk about how our experiences were. So
Awesome.
So to begin, from an outsider's perspective, how do you describe ICON? What is ICON?
Well, I mean, the way that I described ICON when people were like, oh, you're going to Nashville? What for, you know? I was just like, oh, it's a PR conference we're going to. We can network. We go to sessions. We get to just learn a lot of stuff about our future career. And it was at the Gaylord, too, which I always like to throw in there because that was awesome going around there.
Opryland. See, for me, I always told people, I was like, I would go more into like depth of what it is. I'm like, it's an international conference. You have people from PRSA, PRSSA, and like other PR professionals across the world coming there, meeting, networking, attending sessions, like you said, and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of went more into like what I read on the website and stuff because I had to copy and paste it so many times and like, hey guys, apply to this. But so yeah, like mine was more like less of like a fun thing when it was like, here's information.
Mine was definitely more general, yeah. I just like, if I brought up like PRSA, PRSSA, that, you know, you just have to go into more explanation. No, it's this. You know,
Yeah, like
so.
always like, what's PRSSA
Depends on
stand
your
for?
audience.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So who can go to ICON? That's the
I
next
think
question.
it's, so when I was looking at the registration, they definitely had like members of PRSA, which is the Public Relations Society of America, and then PRSSA, which is the student version of that. They had like discounts and stuff. I feel like it's a lot aimed towards them. However, there were other options for like PR professionals to be able to go and attend because like it's such a huge international conference. You have people coming from all different countries and all different states and stuff to attend. So like it's such a huge opportunity for other people to attend, meet new people, all that kind of stuff. So like it's open for like pretty much any communications PR people, but I feel like it's kind of geared a little bit towards PRSA, PRSSA.
I definitely agree. There were a couple of people in our chapter that seemed interested in going. I know one member had mentioned like, hey, like, can I go even if I'm not like going through the school type of thing? And I don't think she's a PR major though. Like, I still think there were definitely sessions that were pretty niche, and so I think that a lot of people could have found things that were useful at ICON even if they weren't attending the entire conference. Like they could have just attended one day type of thing and gone to like the music industry sessions, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Definitely. Let's also talk about how we ended up there because that was kind of a long process.
Oh my gosh.
And
yeah.
also very rewarding though because we did a lot of hard work and it really paid off. So yeah, let's talk about our experience fundraising and, you know, working with the comm department, that kind of stuff. What were you guys' take on that?
To start, so last spring semester, I had saw that it was coming up in Nashville, and I had known that Ashlyn, our past president, she had mentioned before that they had been trying to go, but they had been so in different states, very far away. Like I know next year's is in Anaheim, that's in California, that's very far away from us.
Totally unachievable for us right now.
So I saw that it was in Nashville, and I knew that was 3 hours away from Carbondale. So I very much, along with Liz, over the summer, we prepared a lot with plans and budgets and stuff, trying to get our the director of the communication studies, Sandy, to help us out a little bit. So I don't think a lot of people know how much work we put into that.
Definitely.
Researching, finding how many people we could attend and all that. And then I would say once it got around to like eBoard and everybody who else was involved, we really pushed for it, planning fundraising events, which Liz, you can talk about some of the fundraising events we did. And then other than that, like getting people to go, we were awarded like six people? We were awarded 6 people to go. Is it awarded the right word? 6 people were eligible to go. That's
I'd consider it an award.
Yeah. So, which is a lot more than we had previously thought. We thought like 3 people were going to be able to go. So it's double the amount. We were able to send 6 people, and it was very rewarding for us. And we had 2 fundraisers, I believe, for it. 3 technically, but 2 like broad ideas. If you want to go into that a little bit, because I know you kind of led one of them more, one of your own projects, even though you don't like to say it was your project.
Well,
it's your project.
I mean, it kind of was. I also want to kind of bounce off of that and say that, like, for a while there, we were convinced that we were not going to be able to go. Like, it was stressful trying to get everything situated for us to be able to attend. And the comm department here at SIU, like, really stepped in and helped us with attending. Two of the fundraisers we did, though, we did a headshot fundraiser, which I kind of led. I had a photographer friend who was willing to come in and help us with it. We, of course, paid him a portion of our profits, and we had a backdrop and everything that I actually borrowed from a family member. It was a very, like, thrown together fundraiser.
Very cheap.
Yeah, but a backdrop and some lights and stuff, and we set up in the student center, and we were offering headshots for students who needed them. I myself got one, and it's now my profile photo on LinkedIn. So
I got one too.
Yep.
Perfect.
And then the second fundraiser that we did was a yard sale where we essentially asked people around SIU and PRSSA members in particular to donate items that they just didn't want anymore and just were like gonna give away to Goodwill or something anyway, and we asked them to donate those items to PRSSA, and we held the yard sale at one of the faculty members' houses, and then I held a second yard sale the next day at my house, which was a lot because I ended up unintentionally like getting a bunch more items when I brought it back to my like hometown, so I had a lot of stuff to like organize and stuff the next day. But
I will say you managed on your own to like, because the first event with our fundraiser, like the first yard sale one, we had a group effort, but on your own you managed to raise about the same amount that we had raised at the first one.
Yeah, I got it. It really helped that I got I took photos of the tables and I posted those on Facebook. That actually brought a lot of traffic by. I was getting like messages on Messenger asking like, do you still have this available? Do you still have that available? And like I live on a busy street, so I think that was kind of a problem with our first yard sale, was it was in a more of a like subdivision type of area.
Yeah,
so.
I think both those and all 3 of the fundraisers that we had were very rewarding.
Oh yeah,
and really good experience for seeing what really works and stuff. Do either of you want to touch on the process of funding from USG?
Oh,
because
led that.
That was a big win for us as well. So that's something we should.
It was a big win, but they have so many. Not to bash them, because I'm so thankful that they gave us money, but they have a lot of guidelines, and I had to read through like pages of their handbook to find out exactly what I needed to have. And I created this huge long budget, very, very detailed budget, might I add, of what we
did a great job.
It was a lot of work of what exactly we needed money for, down to what we'd be eating, like a huge thing. I think I had originally asked for like money more than what we needed just in case, and they gave us, I believe, 900 something. So in total, from both the fundraising events we held and funding from USG, we reached $1,500 for this.
Woo!
And then, it was awesome. So we raised a lot, and the comm department had already said that whatever we couldn't afford, which we ended up affording half of what we needed, they would match that. So in total, I think we had $3,000 to able to attend, and that included travel there. So we rented a van, the best van in the world.
Oh my goodness, what a
SIU.
time.
We got an Airbnb, which was amazing. It was beautiful. It was
great and had beautiful views.
It was, I think it technically is 4 stories because the basement or the garage was the first floor. So it was 4 stories. Amazing.
a lot of stairs.
A lot of stairs, a broken elevator, but that's because they didn't have the elevator in there at the time. We had spending money for food, which we'd used. And overall, it was just amazing that we got there. I will say the van, when we first got it, for some reason the doors didn't lock.
Which is not what you would want going into downtown Nashville. Yeah.
No, not at all. And then we found out that if taking the interstate, if you went over 70 miles an hour, heat would shoot out at
Oh my
feet.
Gosh.
Yeah, it
Poor
was
Mary,
bad.
her legs got burned.
I felt like rotisserie chicken. Except I wasn't turning, I was just sitting there.
Yeah, but it got us there, and we carried all of our luggage, fit all 6 of us comfortably. I believe comfortably. I don't know how Steven was in the back when we were going, but I think he was comfortable.
I think everyone was comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think it's amazing that we were able to scramble together enough money for what, 5-day trip, 6-day trip?
I think it was a 5-day trip.
5-day trip.
For six people.
And all we
housing,
really, all we really
transportation.
paid for, we paid for a couple meals on the road. And then we paid for parking. And I think that was pretty much all that was like out of our own pockets for this entire trip, which I think is just phenomenal that we were able to get that much money.
And we hadn't, I don't think PRSSA has, I think this is our 3rd time ever attending ICON, I believe. Don't fact check me on that. But it had been the first time in a while that we had been able to attend. And honestly, it was just amazing. I got to meet so many people, which I think we'll be getting into, so I don't want to spoil that until the question's asked.
No, I was going to say, what was your guys' biggest takeaway from attending ICON?
Kendra and I were actually just talking about this earlier, and I think, like, one of the biggest, it may not be this, like, super profound answer, but, like, going there and having the opportunity to talk to all these PR professionals, I just realized, like, how friendly and, like, open everyone is in the field. I feel like communication majors sometimes get a little bit of a bad rep to be a little on the snootier side,
Especially
I guess.
PR.
Yeah, but like everyone there was so nice, and I think it just kind of made me more, I guess, open and like excited to go into that sort of field.
You felt accepted.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I would agree. There are some of the more like, they seem more professional than what I am, even though I would say I'm very professional. But like, for example, some of the members from PRSSA, I was able to talk to them and reach out to them, and we've kept in contact pretty regularly on LinkedIn, or even some of the national PRSSA members. It's weird because like they know me now, and like we see each other, we like each other's posts and stuff on Instagram and like all this stuff. And so it gets very strange because I saw them like last year and stuff like from away, and I'm like, oh, these people are so professional, like they don't even know me, but now I'm like, oh yeah, like that's my buddy. Like,
yeah,
there
definitely seems like there's less of like a bridge between us, and like people even like we got to see people that were like super high up in different companies in the marketing and PR field, and like it just feels like there's not as much distance between us now.
Or even like chapter between chapter, I feel more more of a connection with like the Argentinian PRSSA or like
national PRSSA.
Yeah, national PRSSA, or like we met some people who are from around Illinois, and they're like they're the northerners for us. They're like the Northern Illinois, the Chicago groups and stuff. And I feel a lot more connected with them. Like I have some of them on my Instagram, some of them on LinkedIn, and like I feel like there's more of a connection between our chapters now because of being able to attend. So like we have those resources now. We have friends on other groups, and we can talk and like communicate and be like, hey, we're doing this. Can you give us some help? That kind of thing. It's like a good, beautiful relationship that was made from it.
I also got a lot of new connections on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I was going to say my biggest takeaway was just realizing that it's not impossible to network, and it's not some big scary thing that, you know, requires so much of you even. Like it's really just like simple things like talking to somebody new, you know, connecting with them on LinkedIn, following up. Like there's so many opportunities that present themselves when you just do that. And so I just kind of realized, okay, like me and the rest of PRSSA are all doing this together. We're all here to support each other, especially like Kendra said, seeing how supportive and approachable and just like kind and, you know, willing to help that especially PRSSA National is just very eye-opening, and like, you know, that we're all rooting for each other to succeed. So that was probably my biggest takeaway.
It was also just like really easy. It seemed to find some sort of common point to talk about with these complete strangers. Like
Absolutely.
It was easy to just like carry a conversation with them because everyone was just so like open.
I will say my favorite introduction I had 2 of them, was to compliment something on them, and then the anecdote I used all the time about our van being hot. If you go over, so like if you find something fun to talk about, it's such an easier way to get into conversation with somebody.
Absolutely.
And I think it also helped. We were all under the same institution of being in PR, and so we already had that common ground. So maybe that's why it was a little bit easier. But like it's just so amazing to see that like people who are even older generations from us are still like, oh yeah, the younger generation, I'm still rooting for you. Like, let me take you to my agency and stuff like that. It's like, it's insane that you want us all to succeed. And like, I feel like we don't really see that often.
Yeah, it was definitely a great place for everyone to come together and like collaborate and really work together, meet people, and, you know, share their wealth of knowledge and experience with each other. So
a lot of like-minded individuals together in one place.
Absolutely. Going off that, what was your favorite session that you attended at Icon?
I know Liz and I were talking about this. I originally said the viral moments, the Barbies to Eras tour, but after you said something about the crisis communication, it reminded me of the other event or the other session I went when you went to that one. It was a storytelling session, and I went with some of the other members in our group that had attended Icon, and that one was just, it really touched upon storytelling, and like that's something I've been somewhat passionate about. I recently made an article. It may not be up yet by the time this comes out, but it might, about branding and using PR with your branding. And storytelling is such a major thing in that. Telling stories and connecting with people is such a great way to gain. It's a good way to have PR and gain connections and an audience through that. So honestly, that one really worked for me. And he even had like a funny, like the speaker, I can't remember his name for right now, but he had talked about how he was hiking with his kids before, and they were starting to get bored, kind of getting tired. So to take their mind off of it, he said, give me 2 words, I'll make a story of it. And it was like bird and like cheeseburger or something like that. And he made this huge story, and like it just became something for their family of like telling stories like that, like give me 2 words and we'll make a story. So like on road trips and stuff, they would do that. And it was such like a great, it's such a great way to like practice storytelling, especially if you're trying to like create profiles for somebody or like share a campaign that you're working on. Storytelling is such an amazing way to do that. And like he honestly gave us some good tips and tricks of how to do that.
That's definitely an important thing. I think my favorite session, I believe her name is Michelle Norris. Yeah. She was a keynote speaker for like our 3rd or 4th day at Icon, and her speech, it was probably the longest session I attended, but it didn't feel like it because it was so moving. It was her talking about her project called the Race Card Project. She's also coming out with a book soon, and little plug there.
Happy to promote her on our podcast.
But it was her kind of talking about how to go about having conversations about race, and I think with the PR field, you know, growing and expanding so much, and diversity, equity, and inclusion becoming such a big part of PR, that it was just a really useful session, informative session. And it was so interesting to see some of the examples that people turned in. For a bit of context, the Race Card Project, she asked you to either mail in, or she has an online form to divulge something about race in six words. 6 words, and some of them were just so incredibly moving, and it was such a great
I just
speech.
got goosebumps thinking about it because
I know
that was also my favorite session that I attended during the whole time. I would say, like you said, Liz, it was just so it's a discussion that needs to be had, and having it in, you know, especially within PR is so important. And so, you know, knowing that we're working on it and we're, you know, taking those steps that are necessary is just really good to see, and you know, and to continue that. But yeah, definitely like hearing from her, seeing her experience and everything she's learned, it was awesome to see.
And even hearing like other people's experiences too. She did such a great way of storytelling of other people's experiences and showing us like even how they wrote the words out. Like some of the words may have like huge emphasis on it, and it's like, you know, the emotions that person was having behind those words. And it was just an amazing project. I am getting goosebumps talking about it. It was so amazing.
And she just did such a good job where like I would literally like be on the verge of tears, like moved at one point, and then she would crack a joke and she'd bring some humor back into it. And it was such a good speech. Like, I don't know how to emphasize that.
She
more.
as a person is just amazing and
so
incredible.
Charismatic.
Very charismatic.
She just captivated this room of how many hundreds of people? I don't know.
Since it was a keynote session, it was the entirety of the people who were attending. And it was like this huge ballroom filled. And I think like she was getting audience members to read stuff out, and it was just so engaging, and everyone was just so interested. It was like by far one of the best sessions I've ever attended.
Yeah.
But I will still stick with storytelling because that's definitely needed.
Okay, Kendra. That's awesome. Okay.
I will say, just as like a little thing, to add to it.
I was going to say, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah. I will say, going to conferences like this, even if it was like just a different like conference at all, and going with people in your chapter or people who are within your organization, is such a great way to get connected and build relationships with those people, because some of the people that went with us, like Steven, for example, I was not really that close with him before. I talked to him and stuff. We were like acquaintances, but now like I know him so much better as a person. I think we're really good friends. And same with Josie. Like Josie is our new PR director for this chapter. And obviously we already have a relationship there, but being able to talk to her outside of PRSSA and outside of like, hey, we need to get this done, like that kind of stuff, and being able to know her as a person really helps. And like I know everybody now, so like on such a personal level, so I can understand your work ethic better. I can understand like if you're having a hard day, like I'm not gonna like be upset at you. Like it's just having things like this where you can just connect with the people in your organization is just so great.
I think that's definitely like an important thing for like president and vice president to know too, because like hopefully some of these people will become the e-board members once we graduate, and we definitely got to experience their personalities a bit and learn kind of how they function, which also like kind of going off you, I had spoken maybe 2 words to Steven before that trip to Nashville, and like I think that I know him pretty well now. So like it was definitely it was both really informative and a really fun experience to be able to go to Nashville, learn some things, and also like create new relationships with people.
I was also going to say, kind of on that president, vice president type of thing. For me, it's not that like I don't want to come off intimidating to our members at all. So being able to actually connect with some of them and show them like, hey, I'm not like, I don't know everything in the world. Like I am your president and stuff. But however, like I'm still a person. I still want to have fun. I still want to get to know you on a personal level. It makes our organization so much more open and so much more like feel like we're on the same playing field, and make us feel like I'm not above and you're not below, that type of thing. And like it makes us all kind of united.
And like at the end of the day, we're all students, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I would say like our team bonding that went on, especially since a lot of us who went on this trip were on our executive board. I think that was also really good because we learned more about each other and strengthen our relationships and our friendships that we have, you know, which just makes it easier to communicate and to understand and to relate and empathize with one another and really just make a good team. So I would just say overall 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
I had a great trip
event.
with everybody.
I loved it.
And learned so much and gained so much knowledge and new connections and everything.
Shout out to everybody if you're listening to this. Shout out to everyone that met us and like accepted us with opening arms and stuff, because you guys were amazing.
Yes,
I don't
we
think you
loved
realized
meeting you guys. Yes, it was so
and
great.
Shout out to the comm department.
Yeah, shout out Sandy, Laura, Nil,
for making the trip
Sakshi.
possible.
Amazing, all those amazing people. I love every single one of them.
We appreciate you guys so much.
Huge shout
you
out
help
to them.
us so much grow in our careers and everything, and we're so blessed to have you. So. Okay, well, I think that's all we have for today. Thanks so much for coming and joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Jinx.
And we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of Salukis NPR. We're so glad to have you. Today's episode featured Elizabeth Davis, Kendra Gregory, and me, Mary D. Hayes, as your host. Shout out to SIU School of Communication Studies for always supporting PRSSA and for allowing us use of this podcast studio and equipment. Today's episode was edited by Elizabeth Davis and Kendra Gregory. Don't forget to check out our Instagram at PRSSA_SIU. Until next time!